announcements. We start off with the big one that happened after we recorded our episode last week. It's Kurt Busch. He has announced his 2022 plans, and he will drive the number 45 for 2311 Racing in 2022. It's a multi-year deal with the team, so he's going to be sticking around for a couple of seasons at least. And this will probably take him to the end of his Cup Series journey in a couple of years' time. But really,
I don't know. We'll see about that.
Maybe, but it just seems like if he was considering maybe retirement, if something didn't pop up this season, then maybe at the end of multi-year here, then that could be the end of his journey in the Cup Series. Not saying that it is, but it could possibly be. It's all signs are, I think, would point in that direction, at least in my opinion. But this is the worst kept secret kind of out there right now. We kind of heard it back all the way back in May from Jordan Bianchi that this was going to be basically coming. But Kurt Busch puts pen to paper, and in the announcement video, they moved the number with the 45 forward on the door. It's not its final placement. We won't get into that in today's episode, but the big news here, Kurt Busch has found his spot, widely speculated and well-deserving of a spot to partner in the JGR kind of stable over there, the Toyota pipeline. And he's going to be over there with his brother, Kyle Busch, for the first time sharing the same manufacturer at the same time. So really looking forward to that. But your thoughts here, Kyle, on Kurt Busch's signing with 2311 Racing?
Yeah, for starters, I don't think there was any scenario where Kurt was done racing going into next season, whether it was in NASCAR or whether it was in sports cars or something. He was going to be racing. It was just a matter of what he was racing, but it's great to see him land this Cup Series ride. And we've known it for forever. We've talked about it a handful of times when it's popped up here and there. He kind of kept it as a bit of a question mark for a while when he brought up stuff like the Fox booth and having multiple offers and stuff like that. But since May, we've essentially known that he's going to Toyota and he's going to 2311 to partner Bubba Wallace next year. And I'll start on the Kurt side and then go to the 2311 side. Nice move for Kurt here because this is an up and coming team, brand new team. One of the big factors that Kurt has is that he can go to a team and really help them kind of find that next level. We saw him be able to do that to a certain extent at Stewart-Haas Racing with that 41 car. We've seen kind of where it's been since then, significantly down from where Kurt was when he was in that car. We saw at Chip Ganassi Racing. He steps into that one car after Jamie McMurray leaves. Significant step up, 1 win per season since he's been there and has made the playoffs. So we know the level that Kurt Busch is at. We know what he can bring to a team in terms of helping them find that next level. And I really think that this is a nice partnership because 2311 has aspirations of being a championship level team. And when you look at the free agency options that were available for Kurt Busch, there wasn't really anything like that available in the now. So going to a team with a lot of potential, a lot of extenuating circumstances in terms of Kyle being there with the overall manufacturer, going with Bubba Wallace, going with Denny Hamlin, all this kind of stuff. So I really like the move from that perspective for Kurt. For the 2311 side, though, this is an absolute coup when you look at being able to get a driver of the capabilities of Kurt Busch, to put him in a second car, to have him be able to mentor and teach Bubba Wallace as well into the future. This is a really, really solid partnership from both the driver and team side. I'm excited to see what they can do into next year because, of course, we know where they've been at in terms of performance this year, fringe top 20 team, some highlights here and there. But this is the one season that they have to use this car. There was no reason for them to put in a bunch of money into this car for one season when you've got a brand new car coming in next year that you can put that same money into and be good over multiple seasons. So this year was about getting their feet wet, kind of seeing what they've got in that 23 team in terms of personnel and driver. Next year is where it really starts with 2311. And to be able to do that with Bubba Wallace and now Kurt Busch alongside him, that's a very, very interesting prospect going into next season.
Youth and experience is the name of the game over there next season. And like you said,
Bubba isn't like the youngest driver in the world. He's late 20s.
Yeah, but in experience at the Cup Series level in a higher profile ride, I would argue, yes. But for Kurt Busch, I mean, he's every time he's gone to a new team or a little bit more of a midfield team, if you would want to say, he has brought up their game. He's one of the best at getting the most out of it, giving feedback. I think that's what the Busch brothers do incredibly well, is giving feedback and improving their situation. But Kurt Busch, the elder statesman in the sport, he's getting up there. He's one of the oldest guys out there on the Cup Series circuit behind Kevin Harvick. So having somebody like that for 23XI Racing moving forward is going to be massive for their next step here. This was their rookie season, really not too many expectations. We maybe predicted them to make the playoffs in our preseason stuff, but that was probably a bit of a stretch on our part. But looking forward, they probably have the expectations to be a playoff team when you look at some of the guys that maybe made it this time around in 2021. So there's some expectations there now. Kurt Busch is a pretty big name, so they have to try and bring up their game, and I'm sure Kurt Busch will actually really help with that process. So really looking forward to seeing what Kurt Busch can do and how that partnership with Bubba Wallace is really going to grow in the next couple of seasons at least. How much do they expand over the next couple of seasons with the plans of building the shop in North Carolina there? They already bought the land, so that process is going to be about a year or so in time, maybe for the 2023 season. That may be a bit optimistic, Denny Hamlin said, but there is really big aspirations here from this team, and it's great to see that they're really looking forward from this short-term future here with Kurt Busch to try and get them to a point where after he is done with the team, the next person stepping in is going to have a really, really good car underneath them so that they can go out there and try and contend for a championship in the not so distant future. So really looking forward to seeing all this, because this is a move that I've really, really wanted. And I think Kurt Busch is the perfect fit for something like this. He's the age, I think, is not a great representation of what the caliber of driver is. When you think drivers past their 40s, you're a little bit skeptical in their performance. But Kurt Busch has continuously made the playoffs in a Chip Ganassi car. When we see what the second car is usually done, it's been in that 20th point range, let's say. But for Kurt Busch, exceeds expectations when it comes to performance more often than not. And I think he's going to do the exact same thing next season in that 45 car. Obviously, though, charter details were released with a part of this announcement as well. The front row stuff is definitely out there. It seems all but confirmed at this point, but that wasn't a part of this announcement with Kurt Busch. So still waiting on where that charter is going to come from, most likely from front row, though, for next season. So no crew chief or anything like that, but Matt McCall seems to be the favorite for that job. They've worked really well with Chip Ganassi Racing with Kurt Busch. We'll see what happens with that. I think Kurt Busch would definitely like to have Matt McCall come over there. It seems like they're familiar with each other, but let's see if there's somebody else that could go out there and be a good fit with Kurt Busch as well. All those things are still yet to be announced. It's just the main thing here, Kurt Busch, the 23XI Racing.
Yeah, and it's super, super exciting going into next year. And speaking of the feedback and helping a team develop, it's not just Chip Ganassi Racing. It's not just Stewart-Haas Racing. You can go before that. You can look to Furniture Row. You can look to Phoenix Racing back in the day. He's made the playoffs every single season since 2013 with Furniture Row Racing. All seasons with the 41 car at Stewart-Haas, all seasons in the number 1 car, Chip Ganassi Racing. That's going to be the expectation going into next season. Brand new car. Everybody's on an equal playing level. 23XI won't be behind the 8 ball. They'll be at the same starting point as everybody else. The expectation will be to find a way into victory lane at some point next season. And at the very least, go out and be in that top 16 in points. Whether that's enough to get you in the playoffs remains to be seen, but that is going to be the expectation level. That's essentially where Chip Ganassi Racing has been this year with Kurt Busch. That's where the expectation is going to be into next year for 23XI and Kurt. And so anytime you have a multi-year contract with somebody that is already past their prime, the age 39 peak season, he's a handful of seasons past that at this point, you kind of are waiting for that drop off. But so far, Kurt has been very, very consistent. He's kept that level. And even if he does fall off in terms of performance, as we've seen with guys like Ryan Newman, there's still a certain amount of value that comes in that veteran driver, because even if they're maybe not performing to that same level as they used to be, they're still providing that level of feedback. So I think this is a great deal for 23XI and Kurt Busch here. Great for Bubba Wallace to have that kind of driver to be able to mentor him into next season and really be that benchmark for him as well. Going to be the same shop, going to be the same guys. Remains to be seen what crew chief and stuff like that is. I'm a little more hesitant to say Matt McCall is going to be the guy. I think it's more likely they have somebody in-house, whether at Toyota or whoever, take that crew chief job, but we'll see what ends up happening there. But excited to see how this goes into next year. The Monster Energy cars moving over to 23XI. Good to see them maintaining in the sport as well with Kurt here. And a lot of eyes will be on 23XI next year, and even more now with Kurt Busch in the fold.
I think it takes a little bit of pressure off Bubba Wallace too, which would be really, really important.
See, I'd argue the opposite. I think it puts more pressure on him because the pressure will be on to prove that he should be the guy to go out and compete alongside Kurt.
For me, I'd say that having somebody else to help mentor him will be better for his long-term game in the sport rather than the short term. And the results may not look great on paper next season compared to Kurt Busch. And I think that's really going to be a tough task. I don't know. Obviously this is all just speculation, but if Kurt Busch does outperform Bubba Wallace, then there may be a bit more doubt put into the minds of fans or something like that. But it'd be long-term game here. I think that would do well for Bubba Wallace if he can learn from somebody from Kurt Busch. And he's not just the singular guy over there. The pressure's on him the entire time. There's at least a second car to try and just pass that pressure on to somebody else. So it's kind of an equal playing field in a sense, at least from my perspective. But it definitely, you can go either way with it. I don't think you're wrong either. I think that there's equal amount of pressure on Bubba Wallace next season as they're going into this season, or even more so next season. So there's a lot of different things to take into consideration, but at the end of the day, 23XI Racing has had an outstanding almost year here in terms of announcements of having a guy like Bubba Wallace to come in there, be your main guy. Of course, Michael Jordan being a co-owner of the team doesn't hurt either. And now you've snagged a former Cup Series champion in just going into your second season, which is phenomenal to see. So Trackhouse and 23XI Racing are going head to head right now in terms of these new teams coming at the same time. And that's going to be a fascinating.
I still don't like comparing them, but
it's still fascinating time to be a NASCAR fan in terms of seeing these two teams blossom into something and really have the ambition going into something for 2022.
Yeah. And just on Kurt and Bubba and that dynamic there, I obviously agree with the fact that having him there is going to help Bubba. I don't think it's going to hurt him. But I don't agree whatsoever with the pressure part. I think it definitely ratchets up next year because he's going to, for the first time in his Cup Series career, have a teammate. He's going to have somebody to directly compare his results to. And given all the eyeballs that are on him, all the pressure that is already on him, to have somebody Kurt Busch's quality stepping into that team, and as you would expect, be able to perform right away, the expectation will be that Bubba Wallace is able to hold his own. It's not going to be a rout, and that's going to be the goal for him next year. I do believe Kurt is the better driver and will outperform him next season, but it's about maintaining that gap and being close enough and being able to kind of grow as the season goes along with him rather than kind of being left in the dust. And so the pressure will be on absolutely next season for Bubba here to be able to perform alongside Kurt. But I do think that this will be a strong team relationship here between the two.
Hopefully, I hope that they can get some results next season. And if they get that first win for the team, that's going to be one heck of a celebration. Hopefully Michael Jordan is there to experience that first win if it does happen in 2022.